been reading up on very fascinating archaeological research and also DNA genetic research, and so and then how this relates to climate change and what we're currently calling the Anthropocene era of abrupt global warming. So what they've found is that there was an original claim that Mount Toba, the supervolcano exploded 75,000 years ago, caused a bottleneck in the modern human species, the Homo sapiens, to just about like 10,000 humans. But the recent evidence has proved that no, actually, it didn't cause a genetic bottleneck. But what did happen is that there was an early dispersal of modern humans or anatomically modern humans out of Africa, and documented in India, but they didn't survive later times. So, and also in China, and so what they found is that the stone technology used to make weapons for hunting is not specific to genetically modern humans, but was also used by Neanderthals and Denisovans, I think it's pronounced. And so what we find is that essentially the Mount Toba supervolcano explosion did cause a lack of evidence in Africa of this technological culture that was developing. So, for example, there was beads found in Morocco that are much older, but in South Africa, it was like a refuge that stayed wet and warmer, even though the Mount Toba did cause a cooling. And so then around 70,000 years ago, the climate in Africa was wet and warmer across Africa. And so it recovered from the Mount Toba supervolcano that has lasted for like 5,000 to 6,000 years of a cooling and drier period. So even though it wasn't a genetic bottleneck, it did put like a damper or a lid on the spread of modern human culture. So we're talking about the San Bushmen culture that was documented from South Africa over 70,000 years ago. And this is the same culture that we find for the Qigong training or yoga training in India. And it's spread around the world. And it's based on the lunar calendar and the sun as a harmonic alchemy, where you visualize rises up to the head, and this is from the secret power of the lunar energy as the water that has the fire inside it from the reflecting the solar energy. And so only in modern humans are the females living in nature synchronized with the lunar calendar. And so then this culture is called the harmless people by Dr. Elizabeth Marshall Thomas. The book was dismissed by the male anthropologists, but the culture was based on females controlling the land and access to the land and the water. And the marriages were that the males had to live with the female family and take care of the female's family for 3 years before consummating marriage. So it's very strict culture. This is what Professor E.O. Wilson calls the Eusociality of humans, so that the grandmothers are raise their grandchildren after menopause. So this is an ancient modern human culture that it went up into East Africa and Central Africa after 7,000 years when Africa was in the United. But genetically, it didn't contribute a lot to the actual modern humans that spread around the world. And so we have this fascinating separation of the San Bushmen genetically, but the cultures have enabled modern humans to then rely on cooperation to survive and adapt and spread around the world. Whereas the earlier modern humans that left Africa did not survive, even though they survived the Mount Toba supervolcano explosion. They didn't continue to adapt and survive their local environments in India or China, and they did breed with other archaic other hominids, and so then you had some archaic Homo sapiens, Denisovans, and Neanderthals, and then they went on to interbreed with the later modern humans and arrived developed in the original human San Bushmen culture that's more based on the lunar energy of the females. And so we can see that even though modern humans spread around the world, as they then developed a solar focused agriculture, now they threaten the whole world with abrupt global warming, whereas our original human culture mixed with other archaic hominids for thousands of years as modern humans, but as archaic humans even for millions of years, based more on the lunar